Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden, but we're going to have a look at another collaboration beer today, and this one is a collaboration between two breweries that have featured on the channel before. The home brewery is actually from very close to me here in Skåne in the very south of the country. The other brewery is from a bit closer to Stockholm, but this is a beer that I am very much looking forward to. This is actually the beer style that got me into craft beer in the first place. So for this review then, for the home brewery, we are going to go to Vintrie, which is just to the south of Hyllie, the southern part of Malmö, and we're having a look at another beer from Hyllie Bryggeri. So this one is number 4 in their lab series. It's called Rauchmärzen, is the coolest German word ever. It comes in at 5% ABV, and this one is a smoked German Märzen beer, or a Rauch beer, I guess we can kind of technically call it. But this beer is brewed in collaboration with Nyköping Brewing Co, who are from Nyköping, a little bit to the kind of southwest of Stockholm, right on the coast actually. And this will be my third review involving them. I reviewed their IPA and their pills that they released a couple of months back. I think that was July, if I remember rightly. But yeah, definitely cool to return to these guys. This is the 4th installment from the Hyllie Labs series, and yeah, hopefully this one is as good as the others that I've had from them before. So yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. I love smoked beers, as you will know if you've watched the channel before. I think this one should be really interesting. Of course, my whole love of beer began with the Bamberg Rauch beers, in particular Schlenkerla, and then when I actually went to visit my good friend Daniel there, I got to have a go at some of the Spezial beers as well. So yeah, the two main smoked beer breweries that you'll find in Bamberg are the Helle Brauerei, who produce the Schlenkerla beers, and then Spezial Brauerei as well, they've got their own kind of ones that are a little bit lighter almost, but they are still very nice. But yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. Definitely nice to have another one from the Hyllie Bryggeri Lab series, and cool to have Nyköping Brewing Company on the channel once again too. So yeah, let's go for it guys. As always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done both from Hyllie Bryggeri and from Nyköping Brewing Company. Hopefully I can add more to both of those lists in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Hyllie Bryggeri first off then, since they are the home brewery in this case. So Hyllie Bryggeri, it started off as the homebrewing experimentations of Michael Napthorst, who is from Vintrie, just a few kind of minutes to the south of Hyllie in the southern part of Malmö here in Skåne in the south of Sweden. So for a number of years he was a home brewer, and he built up his own brewery in his garage, and this was where he was experimenting with lots of different recipes, and he was having some of his friends over to help out with the home brewing as well. And he started home brewing roughly in his garage back in about 2013. So he's worked for a number of years in the plumbing industry, and for a period of time he was working 4 days as a plumber and then 1 day with the brewery, and he was good friends with Torsten Ekne, who is the original owner of Beer Ditch in Malmö. And when he started Beer Ditch, Michael decided that he was going to turn his garage brewery into a kind of proper brewery, and so he registered Hyllie Bryggeri as a company officially in 2015, and then it's kind of grown from there. But these days Michael is joined at the brewery by Erik Fritihoff, who is a partner in the company now, and he deals with the sales and marketing. He's also one of the founders of the Great Swedish Beer Festival, so that's definitely someone good to have on your team. But in 2019 the brewery joined forces with Psychopipes and Limhamns Bryggeri to form a new company that owns a brewery building, and it was there that the three companies brewed their beer for a kind of short period of time. At that building they had a 1,000 litre brew kit, but unfortunately this arrangement only lasted for a few months, and these guys have moved back to Vintrie to a farm because, you know, this agreement just really didn't work out apparently. So they're now brewing on the farm in Vintrie. And I think they have got plans to kind of build up their capacity and keep going. If they're producing beers in cans that are going all across the country, I would assume that things are still going pretty well for them. But as of September 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, Hyllie Bryggeri have produced around 60 different types of beer, and the ones that I would really recommend you try would be the Skånsk Lager. That's probably I think my favourite one I've had from them so far. The Fin Pilsner is really nice. I mean, these guys really know what they're doing when it comes to lager beers. And you've also got the classic Hyllie Pan, which is very, very nice. The Lab series, was it number 2? I think it was, yeah. Number 2, the Cartwright Double IPA, that was basically a double IPA version of that Hyllie Pan IPA that they have. But yeah, it's a very classic old school Citra and Simcoe USO5 type IPA. That one, it's very, very nicely done. So yeah, check out either the Skånsk Lager, the Fin Pilsner, or the Hyllie Pan. Those are the beers that you're most likely to find regularly from Hyllie Bryggeri. So yeah, a really nice brewery, this one. Very highly rated brewery in Sweden these days actually, and I always keep an eye out for these new Lab series beers that they're releasing every month. So yeah, curious to see what comes out next month, and yeah, you probably will see those reviewed here on the channel at some stage. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Hyllie Bryggeri for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website and stuff like that. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's go on to the away brewery in this case then, Nyköping Brewing Company. So Nyköping Brewery, as the name suggests, are based in Nyköping to the southwest of Stockholm. It looks as if it's about an hour's drive or so from central Stockholm, but this company was founded back in 2017 by Jonas Kandefelt and Sasse Seprazar. Sorry if I pronounced that name wrong. But Jonas has a lot of experience in the brewing industry, having worked for Spendrups during the 1990s, and then he also served as CEO of Nils Oskar for over 10 years until 2016. Of course, they are one of the very well-known bigger breweries here in Sweden. But Sasse has a background in the restaurant industry, and he runs the restaurant Ett in Nyköping, and both work in the day-to-day operations of the brewery. Early on, they recruited Patrick Holmqvist as their brewer, who'd previously worked with Jonas at Nils Oskar Brewery. But the brewery started brewing their beers at Värmlands Brewery back in 2017, but then in 2019 they managed to set up their own brewery in central Nyköping in a building that was previously one of the Södermanland. It was previously one of the Sörmlands Museum. I was going to say Södermanland there, but it was previously one of the buildings of the Sörmlands Museum. But these guys bought a 1,000 litre brewing kit from Coppersmiths Brewery, and then they bought a number of 1,000 and 2,000 litre fermenters to go along with that. They are distributing their beers across the whole country now, from what I understand, but in their brewery they've got an on-site bar and restaurant at the brewery as well that you can go and check out. So hopefully when I go up to Stockholm next time, maybe I can stop off in Nyköping and maybe film a little out and about video, and maybe a meet the brewery segment. We'll need to see. But as of September 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 40 different beers, and I think it's only a few of them that have released through Systembolaget so far. They are mainly operating as a brew pub at the moment, from what I understand, but you will find a number of different cans and things like that, and I think, yeah, mainly cans from these guys in the local area there to the south of Stockholm. But yeah, the last beers I reviewed from these guys, it was the Equinox Ipa and it was the Palace Pils, if I remember the name rightly, and both of those were quite interesting actually, so I'll need to keep an eye out for what these guys are going to release over the next little while. I think these guys could be interesting to watch. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Nyköping Brewing Company for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all those different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. Two really well respected breweries in Sweden these days. And yeah, this is one of my favourite beer styles. Like I said, this is the one that really got me into craft beer in the first place actually. So yeah, as you can see, the artwork on this one is really quite nice. It has the blue and white checks, which of course is the state, I don't know if you can call it the state symbol, or it's on the state crest basically for Bavaria, Bayern. So yeah, the blue and white checks are it's one of the state symbols of Bavaria. But as you can see, there is the Hyllie Bryggeri symbol there with the water tower from Hyllie, and there you can see the Nyköping Brewing Company symbol there. We've got the deer with the hop head thing on it, which is the symbol of the Hyllie Labs series. So yeah, it says on the back here, Hyllie Labs number 4, Rauchmärzen is the coolest German word ever, a collaboration with Nyköping Brewing Company, a smokier, darker lager brewed in collaboration with our dear friends in Nyköping. Prost. And it just tells you a little bit about yeah, Hyllie Labs in the series there. But like I say, this is the kind of quirky experimental series of beers that Hyllie Bryggeri do. So yeah, 5% smoked Märzen beer, this one. Let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting. And all of these beers, of course, are limited edition, and you will get 1 or 2 of them released every month. So for those of you that don't know, the story of the Märzen style of beer. So the Märzen was actually the original style of beer that was sold at Oktoberfest, but it's not anymore. It's been replaced by a lighter, more kind of Helles fest beer, actually. And originally, I think the Märzens that they used to sell at Oktoberfest were very, very strong. I think they were about 8% or something like that, from what people have told me. But yeah, the story with the style Märzen, März of course in German is March basically, but beer brewing was actually forbidden in Germany during the summer months, and that was mainly because they didn't have artificial refrigeration. So this was why many breweries, of course, dug out, kellers and things like this in the mountains. That's why they did a lot of that. But yeah, the Märzen style, it was basically a style that was brewed to be a bit stronger. They put more malt in it, they put more hops in it and things, so that it lasted from about March until either August or September, if I remember rightly, when beer brewing was permitted again. So yeah, that's basically the story of the Märzen style. It was a beer that was brewed to last over the summer months in the kellers, basically. So yeah, a bit darker, a bit more malty. It's still a lager type beer from what I understand. So yeah, as you can see with this beer, when we poured it, it had about a quarter finger of a frothy, very light kind of beigey coloured foam head. But yeah, this one has poured a lovely kind of deep mahogany. If we shine the light through this one, yeah, quite a nice rich mahogany colour, this one. I think it's mahogany copper type looking beer. But yeah, quarter finger of a frothy, kind of beigey coloured head on this one. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, and that head has pretty much disappeared to just be a very, very thin foamy layer. But yeah, in terms of a Märzen style beer, this is the kind of colour that you'd expect when it's a smoked, when it's a Rauchmärzen. You would expect it to be a little bit darker than this. But Märzens, they can be, some of them can be very, very kind of light and stuff like this. And some of them actually can be even darker than this. Some of them can be the colour of some of these kind of brown glass bottles and things like that. So yeah, in terms of a Märzen, certainly doesn't look out of place. Nothing too surprising about the appearance of this one when you consider what style it is. It is pretty much crystal clear. There's a little bit of haze to it, but yeah, pretty much crystal clear, this one. So let's take a closer look at that aroma then and just see how we get on with this beer. I'm very, very curious about this one, I have to say. Oh yeah, that's Bamberg Rauch malt. That is Weyermann malt that's in this, I'm pretty sure. There are a few other producers around Bamberg, in fairness, but I've got a feeling that this one is Weyermann malt that's in here. It's just so recognisable. So yeah, as I've told you before, in Scotland we have our own smoky malts, and they're definitely more kind of peaty and slightly grassy and things. It's more of an earthy, grassy type smoke. But when it comes to the German malts, they are distinctively more kind of meaty, kind of porky barbecue. No, barbecue's not the right word. Barbecue's too sweet, but it's definitely a kind of very meaty type smoke that you get out of this. But yeah, this beer smells very, very authentic. Actually, it smells very, very authentic. So yeah, the aroma of this is absolutely lovely. It's very nostalgic for me, this, and it's really cool to see that Hyllie would do a beer like this, actually. I have to say, Michael is a very talented brewer, but then the guys at Nyköping, they've got a hell of a pedigree behind them as well. So I've got a feeling that this beer is going to be pretty solid, actually. So yeah, straight away with this beer, it's the Rauch malts that dominate, and that is one of the things with smoked beer. The Rauch malts are just going to dominate. It's a very strong if you try the Schlenkerla, for example, the Schlenkerla is just it's a very, very strong beer, that actually. So it's quite an acquired taste, but oddly enough, that was the way that I got into to liking beer, because it had that strong flavour. I love big smoky flavours. I didn't even like whiskey at that point, but for some reason I connected with the Schlenkerla. I think it was the Urbock that I tried as the first one. So yeah, it was really cool. But yeah, for me, the aroma that comes out of this is just lovely. So straight away with this beer, you get that lovely kind of German brown bready smooth base to the beer. You can smell all those kind of meaty, smoky flavours just infused into it. This one, I think, going by the aroma, it's the beechwood smoked malts that they've used. You can get Eiche smoked malts as well, which come across as a little bit smoother and a little bit more vanilla, but this is definitely the beechwood that comes out of this. So yeah, you've got that lovely kind of woody infusion in the beer. So yeah, brown bready base, the woody notes in there. The smoke just smells as if it's infused throughout the whole thing with that bready base. There is a bit of there is a wee touch of a sweet caramel to this one, but mainly the kind of brown sugary notes you get out of this beer are quite biscuity. There's also just a little touch of nuttiness to it. It does have a little nutty subtlety to it, actually. So that's yeah, that is quite interesting with this one, I have to say. So yeah, it's got a lovely just blend of aromas, I have to say. Yeah, the aroma that comes out of this beer is really, really very nice, actually. I love how that goes together. It really is very, very distinctive, I have to say. So yeah, it's great. But yeah, it's very, very authentic. That's the thing, is it smells very, very authentic, this one. I can't quite decide. I think this one is somewhere between the lighter Spezial and the kind of stronger Schlenkerla. I think this one kind of finds its home somewhere in between in terms of the strength of these smoky characters. But yeah, the aroma with this beer is lovely. It's very, very authentic. So yeah, lovely woody base, lovely big kind of brown bready notes. It's got a bit of a thicker brown bread crust type quality to it as well, but yeah, it is pretty spot on and pretty damn authentic, I have to say. On the hoppy side of things, you get a little bit of that kind of smooth earthiness that you'd expect from the Hallertau or Tettnanger hops. I'm guessing that's what's in here, because it does have that distinct German noble quality to it. Some nice kind of floral notes in there, a bit of a lighter grassiness, and you do get a little touch of a fruity character out of this one, but not too much. I mean, on the fruity side of things, it's got a little bit of a kind of red fruity note. There's maybe, with the Rauch beers, they always give you this in the aroma. It has a little bit of a kind of figgy-ish note to it, to be honest with you. Like a slightly kind of, yeah, figs, maybe candied strawberries, something like that. But it's very, very minimal, of course. This, it's just one of the things that you always get with these kind of brown sugary malt bases. It's very typical, but we won't. I think we'll get a little bit of that in the flavour, but it's not so prominent. So yeah, just a little touch of fruity note coming out of the, just a little touch of fruity notes coming out of this one, I have to say. But yeah, this beer I think should be pretty damn special, actually. So let's have a taste of this and see how we go on. So this beer is called Rauchmärzen. It's the coolest German word ever. It is a smoked Märzen beer, or a Rauch beer, I guess you could say, coming in at 5% ABV, brewed by Hyllie Bryggeri from Vintrie, just to the south of Hyllie in Malmö, in collaboration with Nyköping Brewing Co, who come from Nyköping to the southwest of Stockholm. Let's get stuck into this one. My kind of the style of beer that really got me into beer in the first place. Let's get stuck in. Slange, Skål, Prost, and happy Oktoberfest for you guys when it comes. Cheers. Oh yeah, that is pretty nice, actually. Yeah. Yeah, that's very nicely done. I mean, as I've said before, Hyllie Bryggeri, these guys really know what they're doing when it comes to lager beers. I think they've got a real knack for them, actually. It's quite a difficult style, technically speaking, to brew, but you know, Hyllie really have it down, and this is another very good example of that, the Märzen lager beers. You know, this one I really like how, I really just love how this goes together. This one I think is probably more like the Spezial than the Schlenkerla. It's not quite as It's not got quite the same kind of kick or strength, if you like, to it that the Schlenkerla has. But yeah, it's more like the Spezial, this one, definitely, I would say with that. And both beers are good, but you know, Schlenkerla is one of these ones that is it's very, very strong. It really is an acquired taste, that, but this is a lovely, lovely beer. Yeah, this one really is great. I love this. Yeah, if you get the chance to try this one, have a go at it. And in Sweden, at least, finding an authentic smoked beer like this one is quite difficult. I have reviewed a few smoked beers from around Sweden, but they've always been like, you know, smoked porters and, you know, stuff like this. To find a proper smoked Märzen here in Sweden is a real treat for me, because this is a style that I really, really enjoy. It's definitely an acquired taste, to be honest with you, so probably there probably will be a few of you that will try this one and maybe not like it so much. But this is a style that I really love. As I say, this is how I got into beer in the first place. I loved big smoky meats, and you know, this was just a kind of natural evolution from that, actually. I think it was pardon me, it was, I actually tried Schlenkerla for the first time in the Moorings Bar, now Krakatoa, in Aberdeen. That was the first time I tried one of these beers. But yeah, this one's really authentically done, so thumbs up to Hyllie once again. This lab series that they're doing is awesome. I'm very curious to see what they do next. But these guys obviously have a knack for doing the sort of German style beers, so I will request a Dunkel and a Doppelbock at some point. That would be awesome. It would really be it would really be nice to see what they could do with those styles, actually. And a Scotch ale, that would be awesome. That really would be pretty damn awesome. So yeah, we'd love to see these guys brew a proper Scotch ale. That would be great. But yeah, this is a lovely example of a smoked Märzen, a Rauchmärzen. Yeah. So yeah, straight away with this one. It's a very light and very kind of slick beer. It feels very, very clean, and that's the Scandinavian water doing its thing. But yeah, straight away with this beer, across the middle of the palate, you feel that nice kind of brown bready base to the beer. That just blankets the middle of your tongue. It does get a little bit more kind of drier and bread crustier the further that you go into the aftertaste with the beer. But yeah, nice kind of smooth brown German rye bready base there. That forms the backbone of the beer. If you go to the front corners of your palate and then move diagonally back, that's when you start to get the more woody elements coming out of this one. You do get those nice kind of beech woody qualities there, just kind of leaning in with the bready side of the beer. But yeah, when you go towards the back third of your palate, you can feel there is a slightly thicker bready quality to this one. The brown bread kind of pushes up a little bit more from it, and you just get that. You just get a little bit more thickness out of it, which is really interesting. So yeah, as you move into the middle third of your palate, it does get distinctly more crisp for me. It does get a little bit more crisp in its breadiness, but on top of that nice kind of smooth brown bready and bread crusty base that the beer has, it really has more in the centre of your tongue. It's got a nice kind of sweet, there's a little tiny touch of caramel to it, but not a lot. It's more biscuit, it's more like a McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing, but even the biscuit is quite minimal in this one. This is definitely more of a kind of bready leaning Märzen. The Märzen, normally, if you have a regular Märzen rather than the smoked one, usually it's kind of it usually is a little bit more kind of just malty and caramelly and stuff. It's the equivalent of the Czech Leitsik, if you like, because they've got the Svetli Leitsik, the Svetli Leitsik, Cherny and Tmavi, and that's basically the German equivalents would be the Helles, the Märzen, the Helles, Märzen, Dunkel and Schwarzbier respectively. You know, that's kind of how it goes. So yeah, the regular Märzen is more of a kind of amber type lager beer. But yeah, this one is really solid. It's definitely one of the kind of more crisp Märzens that I can remember coming off, and one of the less kind of sweet ones, to be honest. But yeah, you do get a bit of that McVitie's digestive biscuit sort of thing, just kind of sitting there on the top of the palate. But this one is really quite nice. It's a very slick, quite easy drinking smoked Märzen beer, this one for me. This is really nice. Maybe I need to get a few cans of this and keep it, but I'm not sure how long it's going to last. For me at least, I'm a bit sad that this will only be a kind of one-off release, one-off release, because I think this beer is pretty damn good actually. I really like it, and it is very authentic. As I say, that's quite rare to find in Sweden. But on the hoppy side of things then, the back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little touch of earthiness there in the back corners of the palate. As you move further forward along the sides of the tongue, the earthiness does spread forward a little bit. It's that typical German noble earthiness. It does get a little touch herbal, but then as you reach the kind of front corners of the palate, it's got a little bit more. There is a wee touch of a floral aromaticity to it, but not too much. But then around the very front curve of the palate, the beer is distinctly more kind of light and grassy in my mind. And again, it'll be Hallertau or Tettnanger hops that are in this one. I would say this is one of these beers that is, you don't expect these beers to do anything surprising within the style. You do expect them to be quite authentic, and you know, both Hyllie and Nyköping have pulled that off really well with this one. So as I say, thumbs up to both of them. So yeah, the fruity side of the beer then, and you know, it's not, you do expect a little touch of fruit out of beers like this. So as I always say, on the front third of your palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. You do get a little touch. If you go to the very centre of your palate actually and move forward, you do get a wee tiny nutty touch to this one. But yeah, on the front third of your palate, you have a nice, there's a wee bit of a kind of, it's a very slight sort of figgy flavour that comes out of this one. Maybe a little bit of a very light kind of candied red fruit. There's just a little touch of that there. For me, the kind of front part of your palate is just a little bit more, yeah, it's just kind of quite figgy, to be honest with you. There's maybe a little touch of a slightly peary ester or something in there, and on the very kind of front edge of the tongue, you've got a wee touch of citrus. You've got a wee touch of citrus from those. You've got a wee touch of citrus from that, the kind of grassy edge of the Hallertau and the Tettnanger hops. So yeah, this one for me is really quite nicely done. It's very solid, it's very authentic, it's exactly what I would want from this style of beer. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, to round it off, what would we say? Yeah, I would say that this one is kind of at the top end of light body, bottom end of mid body, which is kind of what you would expect from the style. The carbonation is very, very smooth in this one. It does have an element of oiliness to it, which in fairness you do expect. This one, I would say, compared to the German ones, the Schlenkerlas, the Spezials, this one comes across as very slick, and it's the cleanliness of the water that really does that. The German ones are a little bit more kind of smooth than this. This one, it has the authentic flavour profile, and it has that in the malt base, but the actual feel of the beer itself is very kind of slick and very clean actually. And that's you know, that's just, you know, the fact that it's a Nordic brewed beer, to be honest with you. That's what happens when beers are brewed further north the water. Kind of plays a little bit of a role in it. But in terms of bitterness and things like that, IBUs, I don't think this beer's got very much IBU to it. I think you're lucky if you've got 20 IBUs out of that beer, to be honest with you. The malt base, like I say, is very, very smooth. It's got a bit of graininess, that kind of brown bready quality just lingers there. You do get a slight bit more graininess out of it the further you go into the aftertaste, but the smokiness, for me, is very, very smooth in this one. The whole smoky character just feels as if it's very infused into the bread actually, and then the further into the aftertaste, you'll notice in the centre of the palate, it really does have more of that kind of meaty type quality to it. But yeah, that's the other thing about this one. The smokiness feels as if it's kind of infused into the bready backbone of the beer, and you will feel that centre of your palate just dry out a little bit and become a little bit more bitter the further that you go into the aftertaste. But yeah, I still think maybe 20 IBUs out of this beer. I don't think much more than that. Although the dryness, in fairness, the dryness might give you just a little bit, a little touch more to it. But yeah, I think about 20 IBUs for this one. The malt base, as I say, very, very smooth. It does dry out and get a little bit more grainy the further you go into the aftertaste, and there is just a wee touch of fruitiness to this beer on the front part of the palate. Little touch of fig, little touch of pear. things like that coming out of this one, and a wee bit of the grassy citrus on the very tip of the tongue too. But yeah, for me, a really nicely done Rauchmärzen. This one, I have to give my thumbs up to both breweries here. As I've said before, Hyllie, these guys really have a knack for the German styles of beer. I'd love to see them do a Dunkel and a Doppelbock. A Scotch ale would be awesome as well. It is really cool that these guys, that Hyllie, you know, these guys I've always rated as quite a talented brewery, and it's nice to see them experimenting a bit more, and I do look forward to seeing a few more things from Nyköping Brewing Company as well, because like I said, they've got a good pedigree behind them. It's going to be interesting to see how they develop over the next little while. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this review. This was the Hyllie Labs number 4. The Rauchmärzen is the coolest German word ever. A 5% smoked Märzen beer from Hyllie Bryggeri in Vintrie to the south of Malmö, in collaboration with Nyköping Brewing Company from Nyköping to the southwest of Stockholm. But yeah, really nicely done one this. If you like Schlenkerland Spezial, have a go at this if you can, and I think you will enjoy it. I do hope that they do, every so often, they do a kind of rerun of these beers. But yeah, I think this one is very nice done. It would be cool to see this one done as a seasonal, like an Oktoberfest release from either of these breweries. It would be nice to see this one released every year actually, because I would certainly look forward to this every Oktoberfest. So maybe I need to go and get a few cans and actually keep this. It's very rare that I do that. I usually only drink these beers once that I review on the channel, but with this one I think it's very cool to find a proper authentic Rauch beer. Märzen Rauch beer here in Sweden. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are, both from Hyllie Bryggeri and from Nyköping Brewing Company. We will return to both of these breweries at some point in the fairly near future, but this one was pretty awesome. Check out my social media, have a go at the Rauchmärzen. Is the coolest German word ever. You will enjoy this one if, like me, you're a fan of the likes of Spezial and Schlenkerla. Thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, check out these breweries, and I will catch you guys later. Slange, skål, cheers, prost, and a happy Oktoberfest when it comes. Cheers.